Hello.
Hey, sorry, I
Hi.
was muted.
Do you hear me nice
Loud and
and
clear.
yeah, loud and clear. Oh my God. All right. So we can wait about 5 minutes. I'm gonna just. All right.
Okay,
Welcome.
let me just move
Hmm.
this over.
All right.
Welcome to our little Zoom thing. Sorry, I'm trying to get this thing out of the way. Okay.
All right.
So today we're just gonna really go over tests in Blackboard because everyone's gonna really have to do their finals on Blackboard, and I think most people grasp how to add, regular things to Blackboard, content areas and stuff. I think tests have a lot of options that will definitely come in handy, especially for something like a final where you want to cut back on cheating and everything. So I'm just gonna quickly show you guys how to set up a test in Blackboard so that it's got the options so that, it cuts way back on cheating. So I'm going to do it completely from scratch. I have my test course. It's totally empty. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is set up a content area for the tests. You can really set up your courses however you like, but I strongly suggest either splitting out the materials by weeks or even better, splitting them out by type. So you would have a content area for readings and PDFs. You would have a content area for assignments, and then a content area for tests so that your students can find it quickly, because if they can't find the test, they're not going to do it and they're just going to tell you they can't find it. So it's good to have that available. So to add, you've got a little plus sign, and you have a the only one you want to is content area. That's what you're going to need for pretty much anything. I'm going to call this content area tests. And I'm going to make sure that it's available to users. If you don't check this off, students will not be able to see it. Going to hit submit. So now I have an area for my tests, and I'm going to click on it. And as you can see, it's empty. So to add a test, I'm going to go to assessments, test. So there's two ways to add a test. You can create a new one from scratch right here, or you can choose an existing test. I have an existing one that I created earlier, so I'm just going to choose that so you don't have to see me try to come up with questions on the fly. And I'm going to hit submit. So this is kind of the part I wanted to talk about. This is where your test options are. And I'm just going to go down and talk about the different things we can do for your test. So, you obviously want to name it, probably something better than that. You can give it a description if you really want to. I don't think most people do, but if you want to, that's where you do it right here. You want to make the test available to students. Further down, you'll see that we'll be able to put a time constraint on it. You still want to make it available so that when the time constraint comes up, they will see it. You won't have to come in here and manually turn it on and off. If you don't want them to see it yet, you can keep that as a no, but then you'll have to remember to eventually make it yes. And if you ever have a student saying, I can't see my test, this is where you want to check first, make sure it's available. You can choose to add a new announcement for the test. I believe it goes out automatically and you can't really see what it looks like. I'm pretty sure it's just a link to it that goes to the student's email. I usually just say no. I think it's better to email the students from the send email tool. As I said, you can do it if you want, but I think sending an email gives you more control as to what is said, and you can set that up yourself. If you want to, you can give your students multiple attempts to take the test. For a final, you probably don't want to do that, but if it's just a quiz, you can choose, let them have unlimited attempts or give them a number. They get 3 tries and then they're out. And then you could choose how you want Blackboard to score, which attempt it's going to score by. But I think in general, for finals, you're going to give them 1 attempt and that's it. You can also, which means they can't leave the test and come back. Once they close their browser window, it's done and it's submitted. So this is a good option to have for finals. They can't, take their time. They have to just sit and take it as if they were in a classroom. You can also set a timer, which is handy. It defaults to 60 minutes, but if you have, a long final, you can make that whatever you want. And you also have auto submit, which means if you turn it on, that once the time is up, the test will save and submit automatically. So if they didn't answer questions, they're getting zeros for those questions. So again, if you're worried about cheating and you don't want people to be able to wander off or have time to research questions or what have you, this is a good thing to do as long as you know how much time to give them. This is the display I was talking about before. You can choose to have the test displayed during a particular time period, which again is nice because you don't have to remember to manually come in and turn the test on. It'll just be on. The one thing you have to remember is that we are in Nebraska time, which is an hour behind us. So 1:05 Nebraska time is actually 2 o'clock Eastern time. So just keep that in mind. There's an hour difference. Another thing that I would strongly suggest is instead of making it 1 o'clock, for example, I would set that back maybe 5 minutes, make it, 12:55. And that way, if someone comes in a minute early, they'll still see it. If a student comes in to where they expect a test and there's no test, they're going to leave. They're not going to wait around. They're going to leave and they're going to tell you there's no test. So if you do it a few minutes earlier, even if someone's a minute or two early, they'll still see their test and they won't leave. And then you just do display until, whenever you want, however long you think it should be up. And then it automatically you'll still be able to see it, but no students will be able to see it after this time. You can give your test a password. I strongly suggest you don't, just because you'll have to field a million questions from, anyone who can't get in with the password or they're mistyping it, or basically the harder you make it to get into the test, the less people are going to even want to take it. So I normally click that off, but if you really want a password, you can do that. We also have exceptions, which I know a lot of people have students who can't really be held to the timer enforced completion. They need to have unlimited time. So you just click add user or group and you just search for your student. I don't think I have any students in my course. Let me see if Roldy's in here still. Yeah, I don't have any students in my course. I think Roldy's an instructor, so I can't really show that. But basically they would come up, I would check them off and I would click submit, and then they would appear here. And you would be able to give them time limit, not a time limit, but an availability time as well, if you want them to see it at a different time or for a longer time. And again, the timer enforced completion would not, it has to be enabled in order to enable it for exceptions. Okay, I'm gonna scroll down and we have a due date as well. So what the due date is, students, if you don't have a time limit set on how far they can see it, the students will be able to take the test anytime, but if they take it after the due date, it'll be marked as late in your grade center. I don't think most people use due dates for tests. This is kind of a setting for assignments. But if you're saying to your students, you have until this date to take your test, it'll be open, and you just want to leave it and see who takes it late, you would just set a due date. Again, remember the time is an hour different. And again, you can choose to not let them take the test after the due date. But if you uncheck this, they can still take it after the due date. It'll just be marked as late in your grade center. So if you want to deduct points for that, you can. We also have self-assessment options, which is really for surveys. If you want to do an anonymous survey, you can hide the test results. But I don't think that's really going to apply right now to finals and what have you. And you're probably going to want to include the test and the grade center score calculation. This is really only if you have a survey. This doesn't apply to tests so much. This is just if you want to take anonymous surveys for any reason. You can also choose to show the results and feedback to your students if you want to. Basically this, when you set up the questions, you can put feedback, and this will show the students if you want to enable it. You can even show the incorrect questions if you want. Again, you don't have to. You can just uncheck everything and just show the score, maybe not even show that, whatever you want to do. Another thing that helps cheating is the presentation. You can show the questions only one at a time, which means, it would be harder for them if you think they're going to screenshot your test. Do the questions one at a time. They'll only see it one at a time. You can also prohibit backtracking, which means once they submit an answer, it's submitted. They can't go back. And you can also randomize your questions. So if someone says, what'd you get for number 2? Their number 2 is different. So, they won't be able to do that. Okay, so once we have all of our settings and they look good, just click on submit. And your test will appear in your test area that you created. It's right here.
Yay.
And it's available. There's no message that says it's available, so students can see it and take it. Any questions, Rolly? I thought I just heard you.
Yay! The test is there, and it's great to put the enable backtracking, the timer, and randomizing questions, because it allows students to not lollygag or just go out and about and copy and paste. So just FYI for those that are interested in looking at these options.
And if you want to change any of your options, you would just click the down arrow next to your test and go to edit the test options. Edit the test and edits the questions. Edit the options. You'll just take you right back to the screen I was just at, and you can, if you need to change anything, if you want to make sure it's available, if there's something wrong with your settings, you would do that here. Change your settings here, and then click submit. And that's all. That's how you would change your settings for your test.
Awesome. And people have asked us about that adaptive release. Should we bring that up, or should we let that be? That shouldn't be touched at all, right? Do you agree on that?
So adaptive release. So it's kind of you can use it. It's tricky. The problem with adaptive release is that you can go. What it does is it helps you narrow down the test options as far as the availability really, really deep. Like you can restrict it even further than before in the options. The problem is that sometimes maybe you set it up and you forget you did that, and then you can't figure out why the test isn't appearing. Or maybe you put too many rules in and now the rules are contradicting and the test won't show up, or it'll show up for some and not for the others. It's not really something I've delved too far into, because whenever it comes up, it's because it's caused a problem. Anytime someone mentions adaptive release, it's because there's an issue with it. I personally think that the test options are just fine because you have the exceptions there. You can make it available. I think adaptive release is for if you have a really humongous class that's taking the same test at different times. And I don't think anyone at Concordia has a 100-person class or anything like that. I don't think that it's really necessary, and I think it causes a lot of issues unless you're very, very familiar with using it. That's just my opinion.
I think there might be one or two, if I'm not mistaken.
1 or 2 huge ones?
But if that is a case, they can also contact us, right? And we'll help them on this matter. Because if they go in outside and do it themselves, sometimes it could mess up. And that's where we had some issues for certain users that use this. So it's very good for us to help whomever needs this. Now, another question I have for you is, let's say an instructor has these questions they really want to use from somewhere else, not necessarily a file, but what do you recommend?
So if you have a test in another course and you really want to use those questions, that's very possible to do as long as it's a Blackboard course. You would go, let me just put that up. So you go to course management over here, go to course tools, scroll down to test surveys and pools, go to your tests. And here you can actually go to your test and export it. And what that does is it puts your whole test into a little zip file on your computer. you go to your other course and go to import test.
Awesome.
And then you could just import that test into this course from course to course. It's very simple to do. I could do it for you. I don't mind. It's really, but you know, it's not the same as a course import. It's just a test. You really can't mess it up. It either works or it doesn't. So yeah, you just go to browse local files, grab your file, click submit. And then when you go back to your tests, it would be right here and you'll be able to put it in your course. So yeah, I'd say import test definitely is the way to go.
Okay. And either build a test, you can copy and paste the question as well. That also.
Yeah. So if you have like a Word document test, Word documents cannot be imported as a test into Blackboard. It'll come in as a Word document. It won't be a test. So if people take it, they won't be able to submit it. It won't be graded by Blackboard. So what you would want to do is just copy and paste it. So I'm just creating another test just to show you how really quick. So this is our test. You can actually find questions from other tests if you want to within your course. It says upload questions. I think though, this only works if you have specific files. Some textbooks come with CDs that have Blackboard tests in them, and you could upload them here. But again, if you try to upload a Word document with test questions here, it will not work. If you have a Word document, you're just going to have to go to create question, figure out what kind of question it is, let's say multiple choice, and then copy and paste it. You would paste the text here, the actual question itself. Sorry, I don't know why this is taking so long to load, but there's usually something here. It's just taking a while. There it is. I don't know why it says that. Hold on, let me just delete that. Okay.
There you go.
So you put your question here, and then your options, what kind of numbering you want, you know, how you want it to look, allow partial credit, stuff like that. And then here are your answers. 1, 2, 3, 4. You would choose which radio button is correct. And then you can give feedback as well. Correct feedback, incorrect feedback. And you can add categories and keywords, which in the future, if you want to reuse this question and you go to reuse question, you can search for it by categories, keywords, stuff like that. And then I'm not even sure where the notes appear. You can add notes, I guess, if you have multiple instructors and you want to, you know, leave a note for another instructor about the question, you can leave that here. And then you would click submit. I'm not going to click submit because I didn't fill everything out and it's just going to give me an angry error message. But then you would have your questions here. They would appear right here and you could edit them, come back here. And yeah, once you're done, you can just go to your tests and set it up the same exact way we set up the other one.
Great. I think that was great to show. And all these, once they're done, they get automatically added to the grade center, correct?
Right. So if you go to your grade center, I'm just going to go to the full grade center. And you'll see there's no one in my class, but we have the test column right here all the way at the end. I didn't make that. Blackboard made that. Once you make a test or an assignment, Blackboard automatically adds it to your grade center. You do not have to add it yourself. So just keep that in mind. Once you make a test, it's here. So if you create another column for it, you'll have 2 columns. It'll be very confusing.
Yeah, for the student.
And once
right?
people start taking it, yeah. And once people start taking it, it automatically fills out because you tell the test what the answers are. And if you wanted to, you could go back in, click on the little down arrow next to the grade, and you could see how Blackboard graded it. Sometimes, I know I took a class myself where I technically wrote in the right answer, but I misspelled it, so Blackboard said it was wrong. My teacher went into my grade and changed it and gave me credit because he knew it was right. So you can do that too. It's not, Blackboard's grade isn't the final say. You have the final say.
That's great. I don't think a lot of people knew that. But I have no more questions. Thank you, Allison.
Yeah, and needs grading, by the way, is where you would see it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for those that completed it. All right.
So you would see your test here if it needed to be graded.
And also we have the student preview too, so we can see if how it looks for people as well. But I think a lot of people know that already.
Yeah, just to show you though, just this little eyeball icon. It's like 2 arrows and a dot, looks like an eye to me. If you click enter student preview, you can see this is exactly what students will see. Exactly, they'll see this, they'll see the test. And what this does is it creates a student account for you, a demo account. And you could take the test too. See exactly what they'll see. Take the test, and when you preview, you can either delete what you just did. If you took a test, it would delete your progress, or you could keep the preview user and all data, which means you can go back to your course as an instructor, go to your grade center, and see what the test, what the test user did. It'll say, I think it says preview user underscore last name is, and they'll be in your grade center, and you can keep them if you want to. But I usually delete it.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for the workshop. I'm going to close the recording and we'll open it to questions for those that have joined us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
This one.